is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it has come to my attention and the attention of our colleagues here in this office chamber that a certain head of an agency of the Department of Tourism has incessantly texted several of our colleagues, including the Senate President, including the Deputy Minority Leader, and
Senator Jingo Estrada is recognized.
thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, it has come to my attention and the attention of our colleagues here in this office chamber that a certain head of an agency of the Department of Tourism has incessantly texted several of our colleagues, including the Senate President, including the Deputy Minority Leader, and I guess it's Senator Pia Cayetano, telling us or lecturing us to stop asking questions because according to that department head, she has been here waiting. She has been here since 1 o'clock waiting for their agency to be waiting for the budget of their agency to be deliberated upon. And may I call the attention of Ms. Cynthia Corion that we've been here working at 9 o'clock in the morning, waiting for all departments' the budget of departments to be deliberated upon. We are doing our job, and no one has the right to tell us to stop talking here. It is our duty and our job to perform our work here in the Senate. It is our duty, and you do not have the right and our job the Senate President. We've been here at 1 o'clock waiting for DOTC's budget to be heard. We've been working since last week, deliberating of the departments here. And telling the Deputy Minority Leader to stop asking questions. Kami nga, kahit matagal magtanong si Senator Riza, we never dared to ask her to stop asking questions. Who are you? Who are you to tell us to stop asking questions? Remember, if one of us tells the sponsor to defend the budget of DOT, what will happen to you? You cannot do anything. You cannot do anything here. If I move to defer your budget or to slash the budget of DOT because of your actuations and because of your actions towards my colleagues here, what will happen to the budget of DOT? Imagine, even Senator Pia Cayetano, you've been texting her even before. That's what I heard from her regarding E.J. Obiena's performance. She's a senator, she's a lawyer, she knows what to do. She's a senior member here in this August chamber. You've been a member of PSC, am I right? So you know how the budget runs here in the Senate, or even in Congress. You know, we spend 3 hours of the morning here. Am I correct? And why are you complaining? The secretary is not complaining. She's a neophyte secretary. She never complained. Who are you to complain? The secretary is a good friend of all senators here. She never complained. Kahit siguro alas 3 naman here yung budget ng DOT, hindi magre-reklamo yan. Because she knows what's happening here in Congress, or in the Senate in particular. I think our colleagues, they deserve an apology from you. If the majority leader and Senate President will allow us to suspend the rules and
Yes, actually, just to put it in proper perspective, my dear colleagues, for the information of the departments, we're just doing our constitutional mandate of hearing all the budgets and asking diligently where the funds are being utilized. We have no right to stop any member of the Senate to ask questions, propose amendments, and as Senate President, I will never do that to any of you. So it was very surprising that this person, Ma'am Cynthia, who's a friend of mine, we're family friends. And if it was just me, I would just let go of it. But when I heard that you were texting other members of the Senate, particularly more insulting messages to Senator Risa Ontiveros to stop asking the budget already of the DNR because, you know, you want to take over, you want the DOT to be next in line. That is not proper. That is inappropriate. And I think the sad part about it is she does not know you from Adam. So it's like a text it's like a angry text message from an anonymous person, which is, again, as I mentioned, inappropriate. And so I would like to ask the majority floor leader and the body to allow, please, before I do the motion, to allow to suspend the rules so that she may address us if she wants to apologize or not, because it is quite insulting to the members of the Senate. And we're not doing this to trample on anyone's rights. It's just that we are all working very hard. And the good gentleman from San Juan is absolutely correct. We've been here in the morning and we've been doing this for the last week. It's our 8th day, our 6th day of doing this at going home at 2 in the morning. 8th day? It's our 8th day, my apologies. And we've done almost all departments. So my colleagues don't deserve that. My colleagues, never mind me. You can insult me, you can get mad at me, but my colleagues do not deserve that treatment from members of the government who are actually trying to sponsor their budgets. And so before I make a motion,
before I recognize our Deputy Minority Leader, I did not get any text from this certain head of the agency of PRA, Mr. President. But I just wanted to put on record my utmost disgust, dismay, and disappointment, especially coming from a fellow government official. Mr. President, I take offense. Even though I did not get the text, I take offense being a member of this institution. And I joined the gentleman from San Juan and our Senate President and remind our colleagues, not only in this August chamber, but also every single government official. Mr. President, I haven't seen my kids and my wife for so many days, for more than a week now. Senator Jinggoy's wife is celebrating her birthday today. He couldn't even go home. And then someone from a public official would dare to question our duties and responsibilities, our work here in the Senate. It's unacceptable, Mr. President. So even if the distinguished head of PRA is not willing to answer or apologize, I think we should hear from her, Mr. President. What she wants, what she wanted to happen, how she think this Senate as an institution would be better if we will succumb to whatever she wants, Mr. President. So, Mr. President, with that, I will support any motion to suspend the rules, if there be. But for the meantime, we will yield the floor to our Deputy Minority Leader, Senator Risa Ontiveros.
our Deputy Minority Floor Leader is recognized.
Salamat kaayo, Mr. President. Ug daghang salamat, Mr. President. Maraming salamat kina Senator Jinggoy, Senator Nancy, who took immediate action on this when I brought it to her attention, to Senator Tia, the Majority Leader, all colleagues who came together this midnight to make things right. Sa huli kasi, higit sa lahat tungkol ito sa respeto. Kasi hindi po tayo gumagamit ng sense of entitlement. Ginagawa lang natin at ginagawa namin dito sa Senado ang aming tungkulin, ang aming mandato. I am a member of the minority, a proud member of the minority, and I take offense if our modest Senate President will not, at the Senate President of our institution being texted such messages. Salamat kaayo to Sec Frasco for her apology, and the apology as well of another official of the DOT who met us in front, near the lounge. I heard the apology of the person concerned, but I think moving forward, words must be followed by action. Pagwasto sa ginawa niya, hindi lang sa ilang individual natin, pero sa buong institusyon natin. So I hope things can be set right in the next days. At hindi lamang sa Senado, pati sa publiko na sumusubaybay sa trabaho namin over the past 2 weeks. They at least, I think, appreciate the seriousness with which we do our work. Ano man ang oras, gaano man kami kapagod o hindi pagod. Dahil sa huli, higit sa lahat, tungkol sa respeto at ang respetong binibigay ng mga senador sa aming trabaho. Salamat kaayo, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minority Floor Leader Risa Ontiveros. So, if the body wishes, and I believe the body wishes, we move to, with the permission of the body, we move to suspend the rules and ask her if she has anything else to say to
Nga po yung gusto po nating liwanagin, kaya nga po tayo ay humihingi po ng pag-amyenda sapagkat nakikita po natin, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na sa panahon po ngayon, mas marami na pong fake news. Natatalo na po ng fake news ang mga tunay na dapat ay ibinabalita at ipinararating ng gobyerno sa taong bayan. Katulad po nung isang beses, narinig po natin ang ating kasama na si Senator JB Ejercito, sinabi din po niya na yung patungkol po sa Universal Health Law na hindi din po alam ng taong bayan ang patungkol dito. Nakakalungkot po yun, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na hindi po natin bibigyan ng bagong jurisdiction ang ating pong public information sapagkat sa ngayon po, mahal na Pangulo, umaasa na lang po ang taong bayan sa kung sino-sinong mga vlogger na nagsasalita sa social media, yun na po ang kanilang pinaniniwalaan.
Clearly, Mr. President, trying or spreading lies, coming up with a totally absurd, ridiculous information, then dapat magkaroon ng pananagutan ang mga ito. Because, Mr. President, I commiserate with our colleague kasi I think lahat naman ho tayo na natatamaan ng mga kung sino-sinong vloggers or media outfits. Yung iba nga po, kahit mainstream, Mr. President, kahit mainstream, hindi naman natin sasabihin, lahat laging katotohanan.
Official acts. Ginoong Pangulo, kapag tayo po ang nagpapatawag ng hearing dito po sa Committee on Public Information, nakakalungkot po, ang lagi pong sinasagot sa amin ng mga taga-gobyerno, hindi, nag-hearing na kami doon sa isang committee, hindi na kami pupunta dyan.
Can you imagine a media outlet that would say, for example, Mr. President, natalo yung UST sa UAAP, kasalanan ni Joel Villanueva. But that's the headline, Mr. President. Bigyan ka ng mas malalim na topic, Mr. President, or I'm sorry for the word, mas bastos, Mr. President, para lang mag-clickbait, kunyari, Mr. President, and walang pananagutan, Mr. President.
There is a request to suspend, but before we suspend, should the chair grant it, so that the period of suspension will be productive, can I also ask that during the period of suspension, can we find out ano ba talaga, compliant or non-compliant? Because there's a claim na may non-compliant, the Senate President says they are all compliant, informed by the Secretariat. So may we know the real factual status, no? Because if I remember correctly, meron nga mga technical requirements na provided by the DPWH na hindi ata na-comply. But ang justification on, since this is action of Congress, we can choose to create and not comply. But before Congress approves, may member na nagtatanong which are non-compliant with the technical requirements. So let's make the period of suspension productive, Mr. President, by finding out.
To clarify,
In the President's veto message, nito pong nakaraang March, may mga local bills po na binito ng Pangulo. At doon po sa veto message ng ating Pangulo, naka-highlight po doon, Mr. President, and I quote, "The importance of faithful compliance with the functional criteria and technical requirements should not be wholly disregarded." I just want to find out, I'm not going to delay the proceedings, I just want to find out, point of inquiry, what were the recent local bills that were vetoed by the President? Maybe be informed by the Majority Leader. Maybe you can ask for a minute suspension just to ask. So just be clarified. Are there also creations of districts, engineering districts? Maybe find out, please.
yes.
So that's all I'm saying, Mr. President. And again, I am here to make sure that my vote will matter and that I would do my best in ensuring that I know everything and the information is available, unlike before.
Senate,
There is a request to suspend, but before we suspend, should the chair grant it, so that the period of suspension will be productive, can I also ask that during the period of suspension, can we find out ano ba talaga, compliant or non-compliant? Because there's a claim na may non-compliant, the Senate President says they are all compliant, informed by the Secretariat. So may we know the real factual status, no? Because if I remember correctly, meron nga mga technical requirements na provided by the DPWH na hindi ata na-comply. But ang justification on, since this is action of Congress, we can choose to we can choose to create and not comply. But question, before Congress approves, may member na nagtatanong which are non-compliant with the technical requirements. So let's make the period of suspension productive, Mr. President, by finding out.
To clarify,
Yes, meron din po kasing, Mr. President, meron din kasing technical requirements dyan eh. So yun lang yung tanong. May yun yung tanong kasi there is a claim na can we just find out during the period of suspension? Anyway, isususpend nyo rin po yata. So when,
before suspending, let me just say this on the record. We approved this on second reading. It went through the committee. The committee secretary, and this is a new creation, under the Rules Committee of then Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva, that all bills, even if approved by the committee, have to pass through the metal, which is a good system of the committee through the Bills and Index. And it did pass through the metal, not only in the committee, not only in the review of the Bills and Index, but also by the body on second reading. This is the third time we will be asking if at all those questions. I will suspend the session for that, but kindly just note the process that it has gone through already. Session suspended.
Mr. President,
suspended na.
That's the reason why we have the caucus.
Mr. President, our colleague, the gentleman from Nueva Ecija, the Honorable Senator Robin Hood Padilla, is seeking the floor to deliver a manifestation, Mr. President. May he be recognized.
Senator Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pong pinunong mayurya. Ito po ay point of inquiry lamang. Meron lamang po akong sanang gustong idulog sa kapulungan upang mabigyan po ng kaliwanagan. Ito po ay bunsod ng mga resolusyon na inihain ng inyong abang lingkod upang talakayin sa ilalim ng komiting aking pinamumunuan ang Public Information and Mass Media. Meron po akong serye ng mga resolusyon na nagmumungkahi po ng mga pagdinig patungkol sa mga mahalagang issue na sa aking paniniwala ay dapat nagkakaroon ng malawakang talakayan at information dissemination para sa ating mga kababayan. Ngunit sa kasamaang palad po, hindi po ito nare-refer sa Public Information and Mass Media o di kaya ay nagiging secondary committee lamang po ang sa amin. Hayaan po ninyong basahin ko ang Section 28, Rule 10 ng Rules of the Senate. Ito po ang jurisdiksyon ng committee. All matters relating to public information, mass communication, and broadcast services, the implementation of the provision of the Constitution regarding ownership and management of mass media and the advertising industry, the development and promotion of information technology, and all matters relating to the artistic standards and quality of the motion picture and television industry. Nais ko pong mabigyan linaw kung ano ang definisyon at limitasyon ng public information sa konteksto po ng mandato ng Committee on Public Information and Mass Media. Batid naman po natin ang napakahalagang papel ng pampublikong impormasyon pagdating sa pagtataguyod ng mabuting pamamahala o good governance. Critical po sa ating pamumuno na siguruhin nararamdaman ng ating mga kababayan ang mga programa at proyekto ng gobyerno tungkol sa mga importanteng paksa. Ngunit, paano po nila ito mararamdaman kung una pa lamang ay hindi naman nila naiintindihan ang ating mga ginagawa? Dahil po sa hindi malinaw na definisyon ng public information, nais ko po sanang maghain ng kaukulang amyenda sa tamang panahon tungkol sa jurisdiction ng Committee on Public Information and Mass Media. Yun lamang po, Ginoong Pangulo. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Senador Padilla. The Majority Leader wants to respond.
Thank you, Mr. President. The manifestation of Senator Padilla will be referred to the Committee on Rules as appropriate. Mr. President,
If I may add, sa pagkakalam ko po, Senator Padilla, sa pagkakausap ko rito sa ating Secretariat, yung mga iba po niyong panukalang batas na inahin, katulad nung meron yata pinag-usapan tungkol sa balikatan, ay nararapat lang yata na i-refer sa pangunahing komite ng Committee on National Defense. At secondary committee lang po ang inyong committee, yung Committee on Public Information. Gayon din ang mga patungkol sa climate change, ang pangunahing committee po ay ang environment, tama? Environment and Natural Resources. Pangalawang secondary committee po, yung inyong committee, yung Committee on Public Information. Yan po ay sinasabi po ng ating secretariat.
Opo, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo. Yan nga po yung gusto po nating liwanagin. Kaya nga po tayo ay humihingi po ng pag-amyenda sapagkat nakikita po natin, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na sa panahon po ngayon, mas marami na pong fake news. Natatalo na po ng fake news ang mga tunay na dapat ay ibinabalita at ipinararating ng gobyerno sa taong bayan. Katulad po nung isang beses, narinig po natin ang ating kasama na si Senator J.B. Ejercito, sinabi din po niya na yung patungkol po sa Universal Health Law na hindi din po alam ng taong bayan ang patungkol dito. Nakakalungkot po yun, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na hindi po natin bibigyan ng bagong jurisdiction ang ating pong public information sapagkat sa ngayon po, mahal na Pangulo, umaasa na lang po ang taong bayan sa kung sino-sinong mga vlogger na nagsasalita sa social media, yun na po ang kanilang pinaniniwalaan. Ang hinihingi lang po natin, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na magkaroon po ng talakayan patungkol po dito sa mandato ng ating pong Komite ng Public Information. Yun lamang po, Ginoong Pangulo, marami pong salamat po.
Maraming salamat po,
Mr.
Senator
President.
Padilla.
Mr. President, if I may, Mr. President.
Senator Villar.
Just a very short manifestation and in connection to the statements made by our distinguished colleague. I think it's about time, Mr. President, that we look into all this proliferation of fake news. I remember last Congress we filed a bill regarding anti-fake news bill, and I think it is important to note na kung ang impormasyon ay mali, mapatunayang mali, ngunit ang intensyon ay tama, Mr. President, madali mo ma-justify. But if it is clearly, Mr. President, trying or spreading lies, coming up with a totally absurd, ridiculous information, then dapat magkaroon ng pananagutan ang mga ito. Because, Mr. President, I commiserate with our colleague kasi I think lahat naman ho tayo na natatamaan ng mga kung sino-sinong vloggers or media outfits. Yung iba nga po, kahit mainstream, Mr. President, kahit mainstream, hindi naman natin sasabihin lahat, laging katotohanan yung kanilang sinasabi. But I'm just concerned, Mr. President, doon sa pananagutan, yung word na pananagutan. Kasi, for example, Mr. President, can you imagine a media outlet that would say, for example, Mr. President, natalo yung UST sa UAAP, kasalanan ni Joel Villanueva. But that's the headline, Mr. President. Bigyan ka ng mas malalim na topic, Mr. President, or I'm sorry for the word, mas bastos, Mr. President, para lang mag-clickbait, kunyari, Mr. President, and walang pananagutan, Mr. President. Zero accountability. I'm not even sure, Mr. President, if the kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas can actually do something about it, or are they actually doing its part to regulate, Mr. President, or at least have that oversight function, Mr. President. So I feel, Mr. President, that this is important considering na yung fake news, lalong-lalo na, ay laganap sa ating bayan. Just to put that on record, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Villanueva.
Apo, Ginoong Pangulo, bilang panghuli lamang po, gusto ko lamang pong ipaliwanag muli na malinaw po sa ating konstitusyon, dito po sa Section 7, ito po ang sinasabi dito, the right of the people to information on matters of public concern shall be recognized. Access to official records and to documents and papers pertaining to official acts. Ginoong Pangulo, kapag tayo po ang nagpapatawag ng hearing dito po sa Committee on Public Information, nakakalungkot po, ang lagi pong sinasagot sa amin ng mga taga-gobyerno, hindi, nag-hearing na kami doon sa isang committee, hindi na kami pupunta dyan. Yun po ang nakakalungkot, Ginoong Pangulo. Gusto ko lamang pong ipaalala muli sa lahat na wala pong pinakamataas na batas kundi ang konstitusyon. At ang konstitusyon po, sinasabi, maliwanag ang kapangyarihan ng public information. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po uli, Ginoong
Thank you,
Pangulo.
Senator Padilla. And Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2555 under Committee Report number 191. This is the bill amending the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
The parliamentary status of the measure, Mr. President, is that we have closed the period of committee amendments. And with the consent of the body, I move to open the period of individual amendments, and that I may be recognized as well, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Yes, Senator Padilla is
Sir,
recognized.
meron lang po akong gustong itanong sa atin pong madyo. Mr. President, kanino po natin to i-refer?
Mr. President, to the Committee on Rules, taking into consideration the previous manifestation by the Senate President pro temp that the Committee on Justice, Committee on Defense, be likewise be given the opportunity to take part in the committee hearings as the primary committee, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. President.
Yes, you are correct. Senator Padilla?
Hindi po ba pag-uusapan muna yung amenda natin na madyo? Ginoong Pangulo, hindi po ba natin pag-uusapan muna ito sa Committee on Rules para kung aamendahan natin yung ating ano? Pwede po mag-request po ng 1-minute suspension lang ako.
Session suspended for a minute.
Consideration. Yes. My colleague from, my kababayan from Cavite is seeking the floor, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would like to be satisfied, Mr. President, with the answers and explanation being given to us by the Majority Leader and the Senate President. I just wanted to put on record once again, Mr. President, hindi nga po compliant sila after mapasa natin yung second reading, kaya po doon sa caucus, sabi po, hindi natin ipapasa. So ang tanong ko lang naman po, kung nag-comply na po ba, nagbago na po ba? Because I'm sure when we had that meeting, we informed the stakeholders, especially the local authors, the congresspersons, that we indeed wanted them to comply with the requirements of the DPWH. The only reason, Mr. President, why I'm standing here today is so that I will be able to vote on the right path, Mr. President, na hindi magagalit ang ating mga kongresista, hindi rin magagalit ang ating ehekutibo. Mr. President, let me point out that in the President's veto message nito pong nakaraang March, may mga local bills po na vinito ng Pangulo. At doon po sa veto message ng ating Pangulo, naka-highlight po doon, Mr. President, and I quote, "The importance of faithful compliance with the functional criteria and technical requirements should not be wholly disregarded." I just want to put that on record and caution our members. And if there is, Mr. President, indeed compliance on the part of these local bills, then I would vote for it. Thank you very much, especially for understanding, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Villanueva. According to the Secretariat, they are in compliance. And for the information of the body and our invited guests as well, we did not change anyone from the officers of the Senate, from the Secretary, from the Deputy Secretary, which we cannot, the Sergeant at Arms, we did not change anything. So it's the same procedures during the term of the good gentleman from Bulacan when he was chairman of the Rules Committee that we are adopting, since it was a good system to follow too.
Yes.
Senate President Zubiri is
Yes, with the
recognized.
permission of the Majority Floor Leader. Yes, Senate President. I just want to find out, I'm not going to delay the proceedings, I just want to find out, point of inquiry, what were the recent local bills that were vetoed by the President? Maybe be informed by the Majority Leader. Maybe you can ask for a minute suspension just to ask. So just be clarified, are there also creations of districts, engineering districts? Maybe find out, please.
Yes.
For the record.
Before suspending, Chair would like to place on record my view that I think we are seeing a healthy system of checks and balances, whether there's a veto or not. If at all that it's the first time some measures are being vetoed, then that means that Congress is independent of the executive. Na hindi nag-uusap, hindi nagkukonsyabahan, kaya kami nabibito eh. Sa totoo lang, sa mahabang panahon, alam niya yung mga matagal na sa Senado, walang nabibito na measure. Kasi masipag tumutok sa mga panukalang batas ang PLLO at bago pa mapasa, naibibigay na yung pahayag at opinion ng executive bago pa man maging third reading. Ngayon, na may mga batas na panukalang batas na nabibito, patunay na hindi nadidiktahan ng ehekutibo ang Kamara at ang Kamara may sariling panindigan at pananaw kung ano yung mga dapat maging batas. Hindi lang sumasang-ayon ang ehekutibo kaya binivito niya. May I get the list, ma'am?
I have here with me, Mr. President, if I may. I can share it with the body, Mr. President. HB number 1028, an act converting the Sawang-Macalas Road in the municipality of Romblon, province of Romblon, into a national road and appropriating funds therefore. HB number 1029, an act converting the road stretching from Barangay Tugis, municipality of Odyongan, to Barangay Tugdan, municipality of Alcantara, all in the province of Romblon, into a national road and appropriating funds therefore. HB number 1030, an act converting the road stretching from Sitio Bolinganay, Barangay Panique, municipality of Odyongan, to Sitio Cabaliwan, Barangay Batchawan, municipality of San Agustin, in the province of Romblon. HB number 1031, an act converting the Sablayan Agpanabat Bagakay Road, a section of the Romblon Circumferential Road, into a national road and appropriating funds therefore. Mr. President, may I just put on record, I agree with the veto message of the President when it mentioned that these measures did not comply with the functional criteria and technical requirements. I feel bad that I vote for it and I didn't get the chance to check on whether or not they complied. And that is why in the all members caucus last time, we made mention that we will comply this time and make sure that these local bills that we're going to tackle and put on third reading have actually complied with the requirements. So that's all I'm saying, Mr. President. And again, I am here to make sure that my vote will matter and that I would do my best in ensuring that I know everything and the information is available, unlike before, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
President,
Prior to recognizing the minority floor leader, I assured the good gentleman from Bulacan that none of the bills we will be approving on third reading pertain to road conversion.
if I may add, yes, Mr.
Not a single one. Senate, the minority floor leader
There is a
said-
request to suspend, but before we suspend, should the chair grant it, so that the period of suspension will be productive, can I also ask that during the period of suspension, can we find out ano ba talaga, compliant or non-compliant? Because there's a claim na may non-compliant, the Senate President says they are all compliant, informed by the Secretariat. So may we know the real factual status, no? Because if I remember correctly, meron nga mga technical requirements na provided by the DPWH na hindi ata na-comply. But ang justification on, since this is action of Congress, we can choose to create and not comply. But before Congress approves, may member na nagtatanong which are non-compliant with the technical requirements. So let's make the period of suspension productive, Mr. President, by finding
To
out.
clarify, Minority Leader, if I get it correctly as well, mention was made about compliance with requirements, how long the road is,
Yes,
how wide the road is, and the veto of the President. All of these, Minority Floor Leader, in my response to the gentleman from Bulacan, pertain to conversion of roads. We are not approving any conversion of roads in the bills we will be approving on third reading. We are approving mostly creation of
Yes, meron din po kasing, Mr. President, meron din kasing technical requirements dyan eh. So, yun lang yung tanong. May yun yung tanong kasi there is a claim na, can we just find out during the period of suspension? Anyway, isususpend nyo rin po yata eh. So,
before suspending, let me just say this on the record. We approved this on second reading. It went through the committee. The committee secretary, and this is a new creation, under the Rules Committee of then Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva, that all bills, even if approved by the committee, have to pass through the metal, which is a good system of the committee through the bills and index. And it did pass through the metal, not only in the committee, not only in the review of the bills and index, but also by the body on second reading. This is the third time we will be asking about all those questions. I will suspend the session for that, but kindly just note the process that it has gone through already. Session suspended.
Mr. President.
No, that's the reason why we have the opposite. Very much, Mr. President, for that very important information that you gave us, Mr. President, that would guide each and every one of us in voting for third reading. With that, Mr. President, considering that House Bill number 7553 and House Bill number 8133 complied with the requirements set forth by the Department of Public Works and Highways, I would move, Mr. President, that we take these two bills up initially and I would like to put on record that I am voting for it in compliance with the veto message also given to us by no less than our President Bongbong Marcos. Thank you,
The
Mr.
points
President.
of the good gentleman from Bulacan are well taken. Majority Leader is directed to proceed with the third reading only of House Bill number 7553 and House Bill number 8133.
My dear Senate President. if I may.
Yes, Senate President Zubiri?
Yes, and not to rain on the parade of the other congressmen that are trying to pass their engineering districts, maybe we could just withhold approval on third reading of the rest until they're compliant. And once the DPWH writes us, maybe in a month's time, in 2 months' time, that they're compliant, we can take it up again for third reading, if that's possible.
Of course, that is possible, Senate President Zubiri, because all we're doing is deferring third reading approval. It will remain with the Secretariat, and as soon as it is compliant,
Yeah.
we will schedule it for third reading approval. I first have to bang the gavel with my order. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, before I move for a suspension, Mr. President, I still maintain my submission that no amount of administrative circular, administrative order emanating from an executive agency can curtail the plenary powers of the Congress, Mr. President. And number two, even if executive orders were issued, they cannot be given retroactive effect to supplant the powers of Congress. My submission should be placed on the record, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for
Thank you,
immediate
Mr.
suspension.
President. May I
Julie,
just put on record, Mr. President, that I totally agree with the 2 points raised by the Majority Leader. I totally agree and I support his position, Mr. President. Thank you.
Duly noted the remarks of both gentlemen, but at the end of the day, it is the plenary of the Senate that is absolute and has supreme power to decide on these matters, and we have so decided already. Senator Cayetano, gentleman from the gig, you may proceed, sir.
Just to agree with the Senate President and to amend the proposal of the former Senate President that we withhold action until they comply or they justify. Because, Mr. President, there are 2 kinds of rules. Policy, which we can override with legislation, and then, for example, if it violates the Constitution, we cannot override that. So I'll give you an example. When we were young congressmen, Senator Zubiri, yourself, and me, I think you could not pass a law creating a school unless it's 5,000 square meters lot area available. But in Metro Manila, there were a lot of needs for schools na wala ng 5,000 square. So pinayagan through law, despite the objection of DepEd. So DepEd objected as to a technicality na 3,000 square lang yan, 4,000. But the congressman justified it that, no, we will build 5 stories, 10 stories. So just an example that is clear here. Batanes has a engineering district. If Batanes was applying now, it would not qualify sa dami ng roads. But because it was able to justify na malayo kami, and just to clarify, no, I think we're all in agreement now, but just to clarify that there are certain situations that the requirements of the committee itself or the House or the department, we are not disregarding it, but we are overruling it if we consciously do it that way. So we may either ask them to submit as is or consciously disregard it if there are justifying reasons, for as long as we're not violating the Constitution or other laws. Thank you, Mr.
The remarks and observations of the good gentleman are well taken and duly noted.
Mr. President,
Majority Floor Leader.
to add one liner to the comment of the good gentleman from Taguig.
Mr. President, may I take the
Yes.
floor?
Yes, our distinguished colleague from
I
Cavite.
just
is
want to
recognized.
let you, to inform the body, hindi po tayo nagpapaawa dito, no? This is just a mere parang consideration. Ako, I don't mind for humanitarian reason. I mean, ako, I don't mind. Ako so far, in the past 2 Congress, perfect attendance ang inyong lingkod. Never been late, never been absent. Sino ba namang gustong umabsent dito? That's why I want to be online. During our last session, I attended. I tried. Pero, namaga yung paa eh.
Alam mo ni majority.
So it's okay, Mr. President. Kahit na mabulok yung paa dito, no problem. para sa bayan.
You know, under Senator Soto, hindi ganun.
Pare, pastusan na tayo dito eh. Nire-respeto kita.
Don't do that to yourself. Are you in coma? You're not in a coma.
At the risk of
It's not that. You know, under Senator Soto, hindi ganun.
Pare, pastusan na tayo dito eh. Nire-respeto kita.
I've been looking diagonally to my left for the last several days. A colleague of ours, coming from our great province of Cavite, Mr. President. May I know the exact rule, Mr. President, concerning a colleague, concerning a member of this chamber with medical devices, apparatus, and apparently under rehabilitation, Mr. President? Is he really required to be physically present during hearings? I'm referring, Mr. President, to the Honorable Senator Ramon Bong Revilla. Lagi ko po nakikita rito na may dala, kulang na lang po, wheelchair, Mr. President.
Well, with due respect to our distinguished colleague, the rules is very explicit. We only amended the rules for online sessions for COVID infected individuals or those that have contagious diseases, COVID, TB, Ebola, you know, pagkaganyan, pwede yan online or is bedridden. We're lax. But the rules is very specific. It is only for contagious diseases. But due to humanitarian reasons, because he had his operation last week that he could not stand up, we allowed it. However, he attended a political party rally in Manila Polo Club, was seen by everybody standing beside our president, and therefore he seems fit to be able to join us. And he joined us last Wednesday. To be very fair about it, he did join us last Wednesday. So I leave it now to the majority leader to make the proposition.
Yeah, Mr. President, just to put on record, if
Mr. President, may I take the
Yes.
floor?
Yes, our distinguished colleague from
I
Cavite
just
is
want to
recognized.
let you, to inform the body, no, hindi po tayo nagpapaawa dito, no. This is just a mere parang consideration. I don't mind for humanitarian reason. I mean, I don't mind. Ako so far, in the past 2 Congress, perfect attendance ang inyong lingkod. Never been late, never been absent. Sino ba namang gustong umabsent dito? That's why I want to be online. During our last session, I attended. I tried. Pero namagay yung paa eh.
Alam mo ni majority leader.
So it's okay, Mr. President. Kahit na mabulok yung paa dito, no problem. Para sa bayan.
Yeah, just a reminder, Your Honor, no? I've had a perfect attendance since 1998. I have not been absent from session since 1998. For the record, I must have the longest record of appearance in the legislature. When times I'm sick, times I don't feel good, times I'm also bugbog sa trabaho, but I try to make it a point to be here to show our commitment. But the rules is very clear, and I leave it back to our chairman of the Committee on Rules to make the motion or the manifestation so that we are clear with the rules. You know, under Senator Soto, hindi ganun.
Pare, pastusan na tayo dito eh. Nire-respeto kita.
Don't do that to yourself. Are you in coma? You're not in a coma.
at the risk of
It's not that. You know, under Senator Soto, hindi ganun.
Pare, pastusan na tayo dito eh. Nire-respeto kita.
Pinipigilan na siya ng ibang mga senator eh. Kasi nagsasalita doon yung si Zubiri. Ayaw niyang payagan. Alam mo, yung mga ibang senador ang nagtatanggol kay Bong Revilla. Sinasabi, sandali, intindihin naman natin ito. Kasi ang dahilan daw ni Zubiri, naka-attend ka ng isang event, bakit di ka maka-attend dito sa Senate? Sinasabi nga ho nila, dahil doon sa event na inatinan niya, namaga yung paa niya. Okay? So, pumunta pa rin si Bong Revilla. Nagpunta pa rin siya. Okay? Tapos, nung pagpunta niya, sinabi niya na kung pwede yung susunod para gumaling. Kasi habang iginagalaw mo yan, namamagayan, ibig sabihin, lalong tatagal yung healing process niya. Lalong tatagal yung paggaling. Kaya nga, kesa na itulog mo ng isang, halimbawa, pag may sakit ka, itutulog mo ng isang malupitang tulog para gumaling ka na. Kesa dun sa hindi ka natutulog, tuloy-tuloy mo pa rin yung trabaho mo. Lalong hindi gagaling. So nagpunta na nga siya dyan para ipakita na willing naman ako pumunta, pero yung mga kapwa senador niya ay nagsasabi na wag na natin munang paatinin ito dito, pwede naman siyang i-zoom. Ngayon, parang napikon ata ito si Zubiri na parang nagdi-disagree sa kanya yung ibang mga senador. Parang kinakambihan si Bong Revilla. Ngayon, hindi pa nakatiis si Zubiri, nilapitan niya pa. Bastos din talaga eh. Hindi, sabi nga eh, hanggang hindi ka daw nakokoma, gago ka pala. Antay mo pa talaga makoma bago hindi umating yung tao. Pag nakoma na yan, hindi na talaga makakating yan forever. So yun lang ba ang dahilan nun? Kailangan makoma pa yung tao para hindi siya makating? Pag nakoma yan, wala na yan. Dapat nang palitan yan. Hindi na yan capable na maging senador kung nakoma yan. Diba? Anong tawag niyo dyan? Ito si Zubiri. Talaga nga namang medyo no? Hindi ko alam kung napipikon siya dahil ayaw sumunod nung pinagtanggol nung mga ibang senador si Bong Revilla. Pinagtanggol kasi. Pag makikita niyo yung buong video, pinagtanggol yung ibang senador ito si Bong Revilla. Sinasabi nila na, nalibigyan naman natin ng ano yung tao. Hindi naman biro yan eh. Major operation yan. Panoorin niyo pa ito ha. Paulit-ulitin natin. Are you in coma? You're in coma. You know, under Senator Soto, hindi ka nangyari. Bastusan na tayo dito eh. Alam mo, muntik-muntigan na siya dito. Kapapanood ko pa naman yung mga action film ni Bong Revilla. Pag sumapak yung kumaganon-ganon yun. Talagang nilapitan niya pa. May coma ka ba? Hindi, alam mo yung, minsan talaga, English lang to, kaya mukhang sosyal. Pero pag tinagalog mo, may coma ka ba? Doon ka lang mag-absent pag may coma ka. Pag na-coma ka, doon ka lang mag-absent. Pag wala, wag muna. Ganun kabastos yun. Instead na, alam mo yun, I understand. Kasi meron na nga, ikaw kaya, sabihan ka ng ganun, di ba? May sakit ka na nga. Nagpapaalam ka kung saan sakali, pwede bang i-zoom na lang. Dito nga sinabi niya, hindi, okay lang, kahit hindi na. Kaya lang, pinaglaban si Bong Revilla ng ibang mga senador eh. Sasabihin mo doon sa tao may sakit. Bakit? Nakoma ka na ba? Pag nakoma ka na, tsaka ka na huwag pumunta dito ha. Pag hindi pa, diretso. Kasi alam mo kung bakit? Balita ko kasi, noong January pa lang, meron nang nangangamoy na kudita. Pero hindi si Chis Escudero, si Jinggoy. Si Jinggoy, siyempre kaibigan ni Bong Revilla. So may girian na between Jinggoy and Zubiri na nakatago lang, hindi masyado napapansin. At siyempre, lahat ng kaibigan ni Jinggoy, niyayari nito ni Zubiri. Tayo wala tayong kinakampihan dito Wala tayong kinakampihan dito. Ang atin lang dito, medyo to si Zubiri, bait-baitan pagkaharap ng media. Di ba parang ang bait-bait niya na parang alam mo yung si Edo Manzanong style? Mabait si Edo Manzano Ibig sabihin, bakit si Edo Manzano? Mabait si Edo Manzano sa personal Di ba sa pelikula, parang mabait siya tapos siya pala yung magiging kontrabida? Kasi yung itsura niya parang mabait pero nagiging kontrabida. Parang gano'n si Zubiri. Di ba? Si Zubiri pala, parang ganyan. Nung ang bait-bait, di ba sinasabi niya pa nga lagi sa media na kilala niyo ako. Ako ang pinaka, ano dito, pinaka friendly sa inyo. Ako yung pinaka, maano sa inyo. Yun lang pala dun sa ano. Di ba? Hindi naman pala ano, pambira. Sabi nito, kahit saan paikot-ikutin, mali si Zubiri. Oo, mali talaga. O sabi nito, wag na si Edo Manzano, si Paulo Contis na lang. Ang sample. Hindi. Pasensya na, hindi ko kasi kapanahunan si Paulo Contis eh. Kapanahunan ko yung mga panahon nila Eddie Garcia, sila Edo Manzano. Si Edo Manzano magaling yan pagka naging bida, parang ang bait, di ba? Pero pag naging kontrabida yan, may pelikula si Edo Manzano at si Bong Revilla. Parang na kung saan si Edo Manzano ay kontrabida, tapos si Bong Revilla yung bida. Grabe, no? Panoorin pa natin. Are you in coma? Alam mo, buti nga, tinan nyo, buti nga dito sinabi na ni Bong Revilla tama na. Nakakabas.
For waving. Thank you, my dear. I love you dearly and your family. Sherwin, may kumpadre. Pare, maraming salamat, pare. You are a good friend and kumpadre. I'm proud that you're the ninong of my son. To Bato de la Rosa, who stuck it out to me till the very end. Sir, I salute you, sir. To the others, my dear friends, my heart is broken. I am proud to have led a Senate that's been resolute in protecting our institution, our democracy, and our people. Being an independent leader, I gave way for each member of the Senate also to be independent and to come to decisions through collaboration rather than direction. I have never dictated my position on any of you, you know that. I've always supported your independence, which is probably why I face my demise today. I failed to follow instructions from the powers that be. Simple as that. I've listened to all my colleagues throughout my Senate presidency, and again I listened to them today. As we head into a new period for the Senate, I fought the good fight. If I've ruffled some feathers in doing so, then so be it. Hindi ko tinanggap ang pagiging Pangulo ng Senado para lang hayaan my best. And I pray that they will be steadfast in upholding the independence of this beloved institution. I will remain vigilant to make sure that the traditions and the once again, maraming salamat po. Mabuhay ang Senado, mabuhay ang Republika ng Pilipinas.
Thank you very much, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri, for your heartfelt speech. We are grateful for your service to the institution. Thank you for your service to the nation. Thank you for a job well done, Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri. Session is suspended.
Para ang PAMBI ay payagan na mag-classify na multi-use sa isang strictly protected area, kailangan, ito na po yung mention nyo kanina, Madam Sponsor, members of the PAMBI Board, which consists of DNR Regional Director, Governor, Senator of the Republic of the Philippines, who is duly registered resident of the province, district representative of the congressional district, mayors, chairperson of barangay, regional directors, DA, NEDA, DOST, DND, 3 representatives from NGO or PO, 1 but not more than 3 representatives from IPs, ICCs, and then 1 representative from the academic institution, and finally, 1 representative from the private sector. Now, gusto ko po malaman kung nasunod po ba ito na itong lahat ng nakasulat dito sa Section 11 ng Republic Act 11038 2018 as amended ng INIPAS, kung nasunod po ito ng pagbigay po ng multi-use ng DNR sa wind farm na Berners Energy. Bena Energy. Kung nasunod po.
Nandyan daw po lahat yan nung magbigay ng permit.
Well, can I see the list? Kung sino tong 11 na ito na pumayag na mag-exploit po yung ating environment doon po sa Masungi.
Sa amin, yung mga local, mahilig.
I need the list of those people na pumayag na i-exploit natin. Na nag-sign members of the board sa PAMBI allowing exploitation
Local
of
government.
Masungi, I need a list of those people
Kami nga.
and their signatures. And very important to me is yung pong IPs. Meron po bang pumirma na IPs?
Meron ba?
Meron? I need a list and I need a
They will submit to you those who signed.
But right now,
Kasi pero ho yan, I'm warning you that yan, majority wins. Di ba? Kahit na hindi pumirman lahat, kung majority pumirma, panalo yun. Oh.
I know. Pero ang selection process niyo kailangan meron pong IPs.
Ayun,
on.
pinafollow.
Kaya nga, paano po sinelect yung IPs? May I know
Oh.
from the experts?
Baka hindi naman pumirma yung eyepiece. Alam nyo, miski eyepiece, naaano din yan eh. Nai-influence din yan eh.
Ay, dapat hindi.
Eh nako, tell it to the Marines.
Sorry, tell it to the Marines. Dapat hindi po. Kasi kawawa na po yung mga IPs.
sa
Kulang nga po-
legislated protected area,
Yeah.
nangyayari yan. Yung mga barangay, nai-influence eh.
Kawawa naman po yung mga IPs. Kulang nga po sa pinag-aralan, kulang po sa kaalaman. And then exploit po natin because we're saying na madali silang ma-influensyahan. Dapat we try to help them to make sure that they will not be easily influenced so that gagawin po nila kung anong tama para sa kanilang proteksyon.
Oo nga, hindi siya maniwala na yung IPC pumirma. Kaya huwag mo na sabihin sa akin, ako, alam kong pwede yun, pero siya, ayaw niya. Kaya sige, na kung sino yung pumirma. Diba?
I'll help you. Would you mind if I'll help you?
Yeah, you're very welcome, Mr.
Okay.
President.
Kasi bago po mapili ang isa o dalawa o tatlong IPs na sumama po sa PAMB sa selection process. Number one, dumadaan yan sa Indigenous Political Structure or IPS. Okay? Ano po yun? It consists of tribal leaders that have exclusive right na para magpadala po ng representative nila kung hindi sila mismo ang sumama doon sa PAMB. Number one. Number two, dapat dumadaan po sa tinatawag na FPIC, Free and Prior Informed Consent. Process ito na ipapakita na itong IPs were not coerced and were not influenced, just like what the good sponsor said na madali na influence. Kaya nga pumapasok itong proseso to make sure na hindi po sila na-influence, hindi po sila na-coerce. Ito po yung FPIC. And finally, evidence to 1 and 2 I mentioned, dapat may certification precondition or CP documents from NCIP pirmado na nagkaroon ng tamang proseso at pumayag ang IPs community. In the absence of these three, then invalid po yung pag-recruit nyo ng IPs para maging member ng PAMBIS board.
Kasi influence. Ano naman niya eh, precondition na yun. Ano pinayag? Diba? Ipakita mo na lang yung mga papeles ko para ma-convince niya. Kasi hindi natin yun. May precondition notion na siya eh. Diba? Mr. President, we will just submit all the papers available to the DNR about the action of the PAMB. We just want to reassure you that it is not yet a permit to operate the windmill. It's just a study to find out the potential of the wind farm here in the legislated.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, good sponsor. Yes, I definitely agree with you. So, I need to see the CP.
Yes.
Certification of precondition signed by the NCIP. Kahit na testing pa yan, kasi ang nakalagay sa batas, kahit na testing, dapat hindi. Doon sa mga lugar na merong issues sa ancestral domain. Kaya nga po dumadaan doon sa tatlong sinasabi kong steps. Without those, then invalid po yung mga nakapirmang IPs doon. So I need a copy of the CP na pirmado po ng NCIP. Because kanina lang po, tumawag ako sa NCIP, wala po silang pinipirmahan na CP allowing the exploration, the testing of anything whatsoever commercial doon po sa Masungi conservation area. Now, if you cannot show me CP, again, I will defer the budget at the DNR in favor of the IPs.
Can we defer? Do we have time to defer?
We'd like to recognize the next interpellator, Senator Rizzo Ontiveros. I move that she be recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. While the documents are being printed per the request of Senator Tulfo, we will hear the interpellation of Senator Rizzo Ontiveros unless Senator, just a minute, unless Senator Tulfo is willing to finish his interpellation pending the submission of the hard copy to him. Okay, Senator Tulfo still has the floor. Let me just clarify that the documents are being printed, but if you will be happy with the soft copy, I saw it, it's 80 pages, and the DNR is in possession of the documents you requested for.
Does it including the CP?
Everything.
Madam President? The
All the
certification of
requirements.
accreditation?
All the requirements that you said is contained in the 80-page document, which is being printed, but it would take a while, so we opted to hear the interpellations of Senator Ontiveros. However, if Your Honor would be happy to receive it after your interpellations, I assure you that I saw the soft copy with them, and it's being printed.
Okay. Madam President, this is what I think. Instead of deferring the budget, I will propose for the proper amendments to transfer funds to more deserving agencies, some funds from the DNR. Total, nabanggit po kanina na na-influence po yung mga IPs. So siguro mag-transfer tayo ng funds sa NBI para imbestigahan yung mga nag-influence sa IPs. So NLRC, Legal Education Board, DICT, and DMW. So kung pumayag po yung DNR, so hindi ko na po i-defer budget. Basta't pumayag din sila na magkaroon ng amendment para ma-transfer certain amount dun sa kanilang funds dun sa mga agencies na binanggit ko. Sa DMW, DICT, NBI, Legal Education Board, and then NLRC.
Mr. President, in the budgetary process, each department has an amount and the list of programs. Your Honor mentioned many agencies, and perhaps it is your right, it is our right to amend the budget, and you may submit it, but that is dependent on the subcommittee chair, Senator Villar, and the chairman of the Committee on Finance, and we could vote on it. Because number one, amounts must be made, not just mentioned in generality, and perhaps what programs of a DNR do you want to defund? Perhaps you could ask that of the subcommittee chair. So I understand where you're coming from. You may be frustrated with certain output of certain programs, and that's your prerogative. I've been through that also before. So perhaps you could mention the programs of the DNR that you think don't deserve the funding, and it is up to the chair of the subcommittee and the chair of the finance committee to agree to your recommendation.
I understand, Madam President. Yeah. So I would submit those amounts in the amendments that I would like that I wish to be transferred to the agencies that I did mention. However, for now, yeah, if the DNR wishes to, they can submit to me copies of those documents that they said they're trying to research now, and they are going to show me, especially those last documents that I requested, the certification of precondition signed by the NCIP. Now, if they're saying na meron po silang ganon, then I need the person that will show me the CP na signed ng NCIP, put that person under oath na yan ay valid documents, at kapag napatunayan na hindi valid yan, siya po'y makukulong, makakasuhan dahil I just spoke to the NCIP people, main office and regional offices, wala po silang ini-issue yung CP. Now, kung otherwise sinasabi ng DNR na meron, then let's see.
Yes, we recognize Senator Villar. Yes.
They were the DNR was saying that what the IP signed is to make the study. There is no permit yet to implement the project. So when you cannot ask for the NCIP commitment because that is given when there is a project. But ito parang permit lang to study the project. So ang pumirma lang yung IPs, yung IP representative.
Kaya nga po, para makapagpirma ang isang IP representative, dumaan po dapat doon sa tatlong process na minention ko po. Number one, dapat may tinatawag na indigenous political structure. Tribal leaders po ang mag-assign, mag-designate kung sino ang allowed na mag-represent doon sa tribal group nila. Number two, meron po yung tinatawag na free and prior informed consent to make sure po na ito po yung process ng NCIP to make sure na itong IPs were not influenced and were not coerced. And then finally, dapat po meron pong evidence of 1 and 2 that really happened, certification of precondition. Ito po isang documentation from NCIP to make sure, to ensure na nagkaroon po ng tamang proseso, and this should be signed, na pumayag po yung IPs, and this document should be signed by the NCIP committee. Now, sabi niyo po, ang ginagawa ay testing pa lamang. Even though testing pa lamang, dapat po merong paalam sa mga IPs kahit testing pa lamang po yan.
Mr. President, it is not the power of the DNR to appoint the IPs or to see to it that the right IPs are represented in the PAMBI. It's the PAMBI who will decide if they will accept the representation of the IPs. So, hindi po natin marirequire ang DNR doon kasi may right ang PAMBI to choose kung sino ang magiging member ng PAMBIs. It's according to the law.
Madam President and the good sponsor, yes, kasi once na ginamit niyo po yung IPs, meron pong batas ang IPs sa pamagitan ng tribal group nila. You cannot just go to the IPs and approach them and say, hey, you, I want you to be...
No.
Kailangan po may proseso
So,
talaga.
ang sinasabi ng DNR, hindi sila magpo-provide ng information na yun, kundi yung PAMBI. Kasi sila yung nag-approve na
Kaya
yun
nga
ang
po,
member ng PAMBI.
Exactly.
So, the DNR cannot produce that document. It's the PAMBI.
Yes,
Of
Madam President.
the
The PAMBI,
Masungi.
yes, the PAMBI are the ones, base po dun sa batas na binanggit po kanina.
Kaso ang member ng PAMBI, hindi naman lang DNR. Marami. Oo, may local
but since
government.
there's an
may
issue,
NGO.
Madam President, good sponsor, since meron pong issue ng ancestral domain at ang IPs po dapat dito ay ginagalang, nirespeto, recognize. So kailangan po talaga kasama sila doon po sa pagbuo nitong PAMBI Board of Directors para doon sa isang project.
Opo.
Okay. Now, sabi ko dito, sabi sa batas ng IPs, dapat meron po tinatawag na selection process at dumadaan po yan sa IPS. Tribal leaders ang pumipili kung sino sa kanilang kamiyembro ang pwede, binibigyan ng authority, ang pwedeng mag-witness o maging member ng PAMBI. Hindi po
PAMBI,
pwedeng basta-basta na lang po natin
hindi.
ituturo kung sino dyan sa protection po ito ng mga IPs kasi kayo na po mismo Mr. President, Madam President and your good sponsor, kayo na po mismo nagsabi kanina, alam niyo naman yung IPs, madaling ma-influence yan eh. Kaya nga po we have this, kaya
PAMBI,
Madam President,
power dyan,
Madam President,
ang DNR.
Mr.
PAMBI.
Kaya nga po we have this.
Suspended. Maybe just request, well, of course, Your Honor, the sponsor, can we allow her please to continue? And we will give you all the time to ask a
No,
question.
Madam President,
Yes.
ako munang magsalita kasi I'm explaining eh. Tinagaw niyo po yung time.
And the compliance review is ongoing and they will report it to us and the President.
So while we are waiting the 6 months from now, the projects are suspended in operations, is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
The compliance review to the job. Don't have to leave suspension is.
Yeah, but it has been suspended. Yeah, it has been suspended and they will report to the President the compliance to the suspension. Kasi marami nagko-complain na parang hindi suspended yung certain areas in Manila Bay. So we have to inspect if they are really complying with the suspension order.
Thank you, thank you.
May I know how many reclamation projects are there in the entire country?
Not in the entire country. How many in the entire country? I know in Manila Bay and vicinity it's 22.
22?
The entire country, hindi ko nakadala.
Including that of...
Pero give me the idea. The whole country. Ang Manila Bay is 22. The whole country is what?
Whole country.
Just an idea of the whole country. Yeah, they don't like submit. They want an idea.
And may I know, aside from Metro Manila, where are the... saan pa yung mga proyektos outside of outside of Metro Manila?
Palawan. Ano? Major reclamation project 96.
In the entire country?
Or privately initiated projects 134.
134
Yung ano,
all in all?
by component or privately initiated projects. What's the difference between major and privately? Ano?
May mga ibang klaseng project, parang component, parang isa lang pa part lang siya, hindi part ng project. Kaya major, ang reclamation po yung objective. Pero naging incidental lang yung mga...
So the major is 96. Yung iba, parang part of incidental lang yon. So 96.
All right, you mentioned earlier that the president suspended the reclamation project.
In Manila Bay.
Only in Manila Bay, not the entire country.
No, no,
All right.
Manila Bay.
May I know how many have been suspended
22.
sa Manila Bay?
All the 22.
All the
21.
22?
Why? Oh, but 22, sabi mo sinuspend lang 21. So in Manila Bay, it's 21 and it's all suspended. Okay, thank you. One is
walang
in
gumagawa?
Laguna Lake. Oh.
Bakit doon, meron yata kami nakita kanina, may nagde-dredge dyan.
Yun nga sinasabi ko eh.
I
May
think
complaint eh.
one of our colleagues here has a video showing that they're starting
Lahat
dredge
na
the-
observe yung kasi kitang-kita dito sa
Oh.
Senate eh, na may nagagawa eh.
There's activity on the side, it's supposed to be permanent. It's not dredging.
They said the activity is maintenance, not dredging. But they will double check. I-double check nyo kasi ang dami nagko-complain eh.
So, Madam Sponsor, when do you expect them to continue these projects after the study made?
After the study.
The compliance review
Mm.
submitted to the project decision of the PRA.
Mm.
So we are now finishing the ones that are ongoing.
Mhm.
Submit na po for review siya.
They are studying the ones that are ongoing. Kasi yung iba hindi pa nasisimulan eh.
Yes,
Kaya
but
hindi
those-
priority yon. Ang pinaprioritize nila, yun nasimulan na eh,
Yes,
what
yes,
they will do with them.
Those projects that were approved already by the Philippine
Yeah,
Reclamation Authority.
But yung iba, hindi sila nag-i-start. Yung ang pinaprioritize nila,
Yung mga
yung
merong
nag-start
notice to
na.
proceed. Yung mga merong
Oh,
notice to
yes,
proceed.
yes.
Yun ang mga nag-umpisa na. Okay, let me read to you yung mga ibang projects na nag-umpisa na. Yung Navotas City Coastal Bay Reclamation Project.